Well, hello, everybody. It is Saturday, January 9th, 2021, and here we go, guys. You may notice the background. It's changed a little bit. That's because in the spotlight, we got ourselves a horror edition. That's right. We got some horror. We got some music. We got an amazing guest today. So I want you guys to just hang out, stick around, grab some popcorn, whatever you got to do. Throw up your feet. But we got our guest. He's coming your way right now. Just 1 second. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody. I appreciate it. It is In the Spotlight. I'm your host, Eric, and I just want to let you guys know, like I said, it's a special treat today. When I reached out and asked for him to come on, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. Whenever you reach and connect, you never know. But, we did talk. He did respond, and he's coming on to hang out with you guys. So I appreciate that a great deal. An iconic image rose from Camp Crystal Lake, becoming a symbol of fear for generations to come. Well, today in the Spotlight brings you the man who brought Jason Voorhees to life. He brings with him some heavy metal. So you know him as the first Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give a warm welcome to Ari Lehman. And let me break... And Ari, how are you?
That's awesome. It's like I'm on a late night talk show. I love it. I love it. That's great. That's really good.
I try to put some effort. I definitely try to put some effort into it and have fun. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to have fun, right?
Well, we're in the fun business, Eric. That's for sure.
I mean, you love being on stage. You love being on stage and going out and just bringing a lot of smiles out there wherever you go.
No doubt.
That's kind of what we do in this community, the Funko community as well. I did the show In the Spotlight. So I really appreciate you being here today. And so, Ari, I'm just going to...
Yeah, let me speak to that right there. Right now, this is the challenge that we all got to overcome together. It's 2021. It's going to be a challenge. The events where we get to all gather together. Now, these kind of events where we get to do this is fantastic. Okay. But we know there's something special about watching a live show, or let's say getting to meet somebody like Elvira in person. I mean, you can't top that. So collectively, we're all moving towards that. And, it's going to take some effort for everybody to get back together, but I think that it's happening, and everybody's excited about it. And I've got a Funko over here that we'll talk about. Look at that. Pretty amazing, right? Look at this. Look at this.
God.
He's got a guitar. How about that? The custom Funko. Awesome. Yeah, if people want to get these, they can just contact me, private message me. I'll sign them up. We're gonna have them with a little Crystal Lake sign coming up. So the world of Funkos is so creative and so amazing. I'm always amazed. They use the Scott Jackson artwork from our album Heed My Warning. That's the first Jason album. Yes. And you're talking about first Jason. The other thing which we can talk about, which I'm really happy about, is first Jason's been out there doing a lot of shows. We've been doing a lot of course, now we're doing a bunch of like drive-in movie shows and outdoor shows, parking lot shows, and everything we can do. Sometimes we'll play indoors and they'll broadcast it outdoors. But we came up with 2 new songs. I hope you got a chance to hear those. That's The Scapegoat and The Price of Peace. And the news is, for anybody out there who's a fan of the band Ice Nine Kills, okay? Ice Nine Kills is a horror rock band that's greatly loved. And I'm just honored to say that, okay, I got to do a collaboration with them and sing on one of their songs. It's called Thank God It's Friday. Now, this band, Eric, gets millions of hits on their Spotify songs. When I went to see them at House of Blues, the place was packed and everybody was singing every lyric. So they're at a next echelon of reaching people. First Jason, we draw in the hundreds. These guys draw in the thousands and many thousands. So I'm honored to say that Spencer Charnas is going to be singing on a First Jason track. He is going to be adding a vocal response to the chorus of The Scapegoat. So I'm just letting everybody know about that. And I heard it yesterday, and it's there you go. So he's going to be adding. Thank you, Eric. So you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, and Spencer has been so kind, and anybody who knows about him out there knows how talented he is, and he added an amazing response on the chorus, which we're going to hear later. Also, there's a band called Grave Robber. I don't know, everybody knows about them. Grave Robber is a great punk band from, I think they're up in Minnesota. Now they're up north, but so their lead singer Sean is going to also be doing a recitation about the scapegoat, and that's going to be on the new version. And we're going to have a video for that too. So there's an animation. There's these art students are making an animation. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I can announce these things right here, right? Okay, these things haven't been announced yet, Eric. This is the first time I've even announced that Spencer is going to be on a First Jason song, because now we've got the recording, okay? And I'm also happy to announce about Sean Browning from Grave Robber, Tom Hazart from Ellefson, the Ellefson group. He's the singer. He's also going to be putting his lion-esque vocals on the song Price of Peace. That guy's he just has a roaring sound. So, we're going to, it's, I think 2021, we got to all get together, man. That's what it's about. It's about doing stuff just like this. Let's get together. Let's talk. What do you need? What do I need? Let's all make it work together.
Well, and taking advantage of opportunities is important, but getting out there, and I know one of the things that you did do that you miss, I believe you played some bingo in the senior community, right? You did, like,
I'm right here. Yeah, no, oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I am privileged to help run a community center where, indeed, up to last March, they played bingo. And, it's one of those crazy things. When you're helping doing that, you go, oh, man, it's Sunday. I don't want to go here and do this. And, oh, man, I just want to stay in bed. There's a bunch of old ladies at the door. Bingo, it's time for bingo. They're not gonna stop. They got bingo, man. They love their bingo. But it's not, they love playing bingo and they get really serious about it. But also it's I talked to him one time, one of these old ladies. I was like, why do you want, you guys love playing bingo? She said, because we look forward to it because we have nothing to do, man. We just sit around and there's nothing to do. They want us to stare at TV. They don't even really use the internet the way we do. They're starting to. We were talking about virtual bingo. They're like, we can't do that, So, they're not about gambling. It's a quarter, it's nothing. but it's about the gossip, and they can hang out and have a good time. We do lunch, and anyway, so I never thought I'd really miss him as much as I do. But I what can you say, man?
Well, hopefully, things can get, in a different direction. You get a chance to stop in and go that way, But I you're from Westport, Connecticut. Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from New York City.
Okay.
I was born in New York City.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And my parents moved around the country, but then I did go to high school and I studied drama in Westport, Connecticut.
Okay.
And very significantly, that's where Sean Cunningham had his film company in Westport, Connecticut. So if I hadn't gone and snuck in to the Westport YMCA, they had a thing called the minibus. So you would take the minibus, go down to Jessup Green, and I would walk right into the YMCA with my little clipboard and said, "Where's the audition?" So I did it all myself, man. Having heard from a friend that there was an audition there, and
well,
but see, that wasn't for Friday the 13th. That was for a comedy, a lighthearted comedy about a bunch of kids who win their orphanage back from the mob in a soccer tournament. So I could play soccer, okay? So it was called Manny's Orphans. It was like the Bad News Bears of soccer, okay? But it didn't go anywhere because nobody cared about soccer, okay? So here's the great Sean Cunningham, great director, really good at working with kids, really good at making things feel real, for that time, especially, I think. And so he had to do something. So with what he had, he said, okay, we're going to change gear and do Friday the 13th. And he called me up on the phone. I was just hanging out, literally like, well, what am I going to do this summer? Just going to the beach, And Sean calls me up. Hey, Ari, we're doing another movie. We need you to get over here. Okay. I'm like, great. Yeah, sure. He's like, it's a horror movie. I'm like, a horror movie? He said, yeah. Can you swim? Yeah, I can swim. Okay. Cool. That was it, man. So because I had done the other movie, in other words, because I had the gumption, I guess you could say, to sneak into that other one, so but not to say the kids should go to auditions without their parents. They shouldn't. They should not do that. I do not recommend that. But this was at a YMCA, and my experience on the set of Friday the 13th and Manny's Orphans was top notch, and I had a great experience.
Well, I got to ask you, when you saw the script, it said something around about a boy sneaks off in the woods to kiss, and you're thinking,
yeah,
oh, is this my role? Like, is this what I get?
Oh no, I'll tell you that story. So I get to the studio, and I think it was Cindy Veazey. She was the secretary. She had worked on the other movie. So she thought, oh, this is delightful. Ari's back. And see, in the other movie, I had an 80-line role. So I really had some acting chops going on there. And like I was the best buddy of the lead, the kind of slightly chubby buddy who was into girls and carried a Playboy magazine all the time. And that was the 80s thing. So she thought, oh, maybe he's playing this character. No, it was Kevin Bacon's character, okay, who has the big sex scene in the bunks and, gets it from the back of the neck. And, that was nice of her to think that I had been cast as the lead role. So I'm reading it and I said, wow, man, this is pretty steamy. I had never kissed a girl at that point. What was I? I was still 13, I think. Yeah.
13?
Yeah. Or 13 or 14. Yeah, 14. So, Oh, there's my dog. And so,
Yeah, but mine's probably gonna. Mine here's the dog too. Like I have a little Chihuahua, Jack Russell.
Mazel's a half Chihuahua, half Pomeranian, a Pomerwawa. But let's not get distracted. Okay, so what happened was, now I've totally forgot what was I? Oh, what were we talking about? Oh my god.
So like, the Kevin Bacon scene.
Yes. Okay. So Sean walks in, and I'm looking at the script, and he can see the expression in my face. Okay, and he knows actors, and he's looking at me, and he's going, "Oh," because my character doesn't have any lines. I must have said something. Oh, this is interesting when I say this, and he goes, "What?" And so he looks at the script. He goes, "No, that's Kevin's script." And he sat me down. He goes, "Ari, now I don't want you to be disappointed." And I said, "Sean, just what's up?" Because honestly, I thought that was going to be hard for me to do, So he says, "You're going to be the monster." And I went, whoa, that was goosebumps. So I said, "Wow, I get to be the monster?" He said, yes, you're going to be the monster. So I said, "Oh, that's great. Okay, fine." So then they handed me the script. The only thing I was disappointed because I wanted to count my lines. So I went through and I'm looking and wait, there's no lines. Yes, well, you're going to have to put it all in your, so I said, "I'll put it all in my eyes, And then Tom Savini said, "Ari, I'm sorry, one of your eyes is going to have to be a glass eye. So you're going to, exactly. So you're going to have to put it all in one eye."
Well, let me ask you, with Tom Savini, like I know for me that'd be such a thrill, to meet him. Now you spent numerous hours working on the makeup. Now, for you being, 13, 14, like, I mean, was he all the business, or did you guys did he?
No, it would have been equally a thrill. He's a much, definitely what you might call a Renaissance man, very intense, very, very motivated by his work, and definitely happiest when he's got these projects and he's surrounded by a team who are working together. He's very good at getting people to inspired to work together, and it's got this wonderful clandestine feeling, like we're all conspiring to scare someone,
Mm-hmm.
And so when we conspire together to scare somebody, it's kind of like it has an element of comedy, like you're playing a joke on someone, but to make sure that it works right, there's certain elements that have to be executed, and Tom is absolutely 100% a master of knowing how to scare people in his way, okay? Because you could look at different examples. We could go prior to him. We could go after him. I mean, not after him, because he's still there, okay? He's still doing Creep Show and everything. But when his influence really was, let's say this, it was sufficiently frightening and sufficiently gruesome, in my opinion. Later, things began a little more gruesome than sometimes they needed to be, in my opinion. Again, now I know there's some fans who are just straight up gore fans. Everybody is entitled to love what they love. I particularly like horror from earlier era, German expressionist horror, silent movies. I like Hammer horror. I like Val Lewton, Nosferatu. There's F.W. Murnau, one of my favorites. Oh, and you got this great, the Night of the Hunter. Yeah, that's a fantastic film. Yeah, you just look at those images.
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't say Night of the Hunter is really a horror film. I've had people say that to me, and I can appreciate that. They would say, there's certainly horrific elements in it, especially the way things became so that but one way you could look at it, it's like kind of like metal. Some people just love death metal. And meanwhile, I can listen to death metal, but it's not exactly my favorite, but I can appreciate it for what it is, especially if somebody's like, come on, let's listen to this. And then there's some bands that I really adore, like Gojira and I don't know, Devil Driver. But then there's some people that tell me that's not really death metal, Macabre is a band that had an influence on me because I met them in Chicago and everything. But that's how I deal with things, more on a very not categorical level. Tom has some fantastic work. Working with him was a blast. Meeting him, he showed me all these cool tricks of the trade, and the idea of what's called misdirection, where you direct the audience's attention over here, but then something comes up from the other side. So okay. A lot of different concepts.
Well, there's a question. It says, what was it like preparing for the role when you realized you had to act without any dialogue?
Well, yes. Well, there you go. Quite specifically, as an actor, as a young actor, okay, I thought, okay, so this is a role where it's got to be in my body language. And then I realized at first, guys, there was only one scene. The only scene that was in the original script was the drowning. And that was it. And, I was like, okay, I have to play a drowning child. So I wanted to make sure that there was a sense of urgency, that he looked like he was really drowning, but it wasn't overdone. But there's another element in the drowning scene that's kind of funny, if you want to know.
Yeah.
Jaws came out a few years before. And so I used to always pretend when I was on the beach, like, because I lived near the beach in Westport, Connecticut. So I would sit, my parents would come and with the picnic lunch and sit there on the beach. And I would be like, I'm drowning. And I would go back. And I would even use my foot, like my foot was a dorsal fin, Okay, it would come around and go, and then, At first, of course, my mom was, Ari, and then eventually, oh my God, okay, he's doing it again. So no matter what, I would do that every time we went to the beach, So when we did this scene, I thought to myself, okay, what if I do the thing like where Jaws is eating me? And then, look, if you watch the scene, okay, the time we shot it, they were like, that's perfect. Perfect. One take. Thank you. And they pulled the cameras. I was literally still in the water. Not this scene. That's okay. The ending scene. That's the ending scene. I'm talking about just the part where he's drowning. Mama's saying, the fans know, Mama saying, he was my only son. And today is his birthday. He wasn't a very good swimmer. And little Jason is drowning. That was going to be the only iteration of Jason Voorhees in cinematic history. Correct. Exactly. That moment. That was it. That was going to be it. Okay. So, yeah, I pretended that Jaws was eating me. And then if you watch carefully, I even do the little thing at the very end. You see my foot go like this just before I drown. Okay. Watch the movie, guys. That's my little homage to Jaws, okay? Now you know. Now you know.
Now, there also, go ahead. I was going to say there's also a lot of other
elements. Let me finish, because I don't want to interrupt, but that's he called me up. I went home. I thought, I'm in a movie, I drown. Okay, there goes my acting career. Now, I already wanted to play music, but I was like, so then he calls me up. He says, Ari, there's another part. We wrote another part because they had wrapped that movie in August of 1979. It was wrapped. It was done. There was no more movie. It was shot. That was it. End of story. It was a dream, right? So then they say, okay. In other words, they came up with the ending sequence in October. And he calls me in October, come back in October. We have another scene for you. And I'm like, how can you have another scene for me? My character's dead. He drowned, you know? And they're like, no, you get your revenge. He said on the phone, you get your revenge. But he didn't say you come back to life and get your revenge. He did say you get your revenge. So in my mind, I thought, somehow he's transformed underwater, comes back to life, and tries to drag poor Alice down to her doom. But she wakes up. Okay. So I got there and they said, no. It's a dream. You're not real. And I said, what? I'm real. I'm real. I'm going to come at this like I'm real. So Tom Savini said to me, look, Ari, if you were in a dream and you were a ghost, you would think you're real. So play it like that. And I said, okay, you know. So the way we did it, as you now show the final sequence. If you watch this final sequence, the way we did it here, what you'll see, this is the first take. That's the second take. Okay, that's the second take. That's the first take. The first take, I actually grabbed her and they cut it just when she opens her mouth because she hadn't seen the character. And Sean was very smart. He says, the cameras are rolling. Just go out into the water and grab Adrian. That's all he said. Oh, no. He also said, you're the director because you won't be able to hear me say action. So
that's right.
What should I do? I know I felt sorry. I didn't want to grab the actress in such a way, but then I thought it's gotta look vicious, you know. She killed my mom. Let's get that there, right there. That's the first take. You see how they cut it?
Yeah.
So what happened was they cut it right after there. She grabbed my arms and threw me off of her in that take. The close-up take is the first take. So they could just get to where she went and she goes like this and she actually fell out of the front of the boat because she was so surprised. So maybe they should have told her what was coming. But, however, because they didn't, that shock register, whether it was shock of like, oh, you guys, you know, who knows? I thought she was going to fall in the water with me, but no. So in the end, they said, okay, one more take, do one more take. And this time just, you know, so as you can see from that GIF perfectly, they sandwiched, this is the second take. That's the first take. Yeah. And then back to the second take. You see where Tom Savini is tipping the boat over at that time.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, like I said, with horror movies, you know, I mean, obviously that's iconic, you know, because now Jason, you know, comes into the fold down the road with these movies. But you're the first Jason. You're the one that, you know, like I said, I know for myself, other fans, like we love, you know, horror movies. We love watching Friday the 13th. I mean, that's something you did that. You know, you brought that to life. And, you know, I want to ask
many people, hundreds of people were there together, all working on a set. Yes. And I'm honored and never take for granted how lucky I am to have been there and been that little boy.
Well, I mean, it was the first time for certain actors like Kevin Bacon. Now you were actually preparing for your role, and he came over to you at some point.
Yes, I was a serious child, so I would stare into the water of the lake to try to get into character. Like, what would it be like, you know, to go through this thing? And so ultimately, he comes over to me, and I'm staring. I think he had just, you know, gone to take a leak in the woods. And he's like, Ari, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm getting into character. And he literally fell down on the side of the beach laughing. He's like, you're getting into character. You're a 12-year-old kid. You know, like, you know, back then it was really a thing. Like, you know, the same year. Oh gosh, Danny. What's the name of the young man who played it? He's now a young man, as young as myself, who played in The Shining. Danny.
Oh,
Very nice person. But so he was not told that he was even in a horror scene. Like I was told, you know, everything. They knew that, and I was like trying to make it even weirder, you know. Of course, I didn't have to do any really gory, violent things, but you know, outside of trying to drown someone, but
well,
not succeeding, unsuccessfully.
Danny Lloyd.
Danny Lloyd, thank you so much. What a nice person, amazing person. But I think you'll see two different approaches to horror films, both made in 1979. Great films, both of them that everyone loves, and I love The Shining very much. I particularly love Scatman Crothers in The Shining.
Yeah.
That to me is the best part. And the bar sequence is undeniable. Another great actor there, the bartender. And, you know,
Lloyd.
Jack Nicholson, you know, kind of a great actor too. But and a lot of horror from Jack Nicholson. People forget, you know, he did a lot of horror stuff. But
well, there's a lot of people that started out, I mean, in horror movies, you know, like Tom Hanks, you know, Jennifer Aniston, you know, that started out with, in a horror type movie. I know Paul Rudd, you know, so you know, obviously Kevin Bacon, you know, so I mean, horror has been around, but there's also been some great like B movies. I mean, I know some people are fans of B movies. Is there any B movies that you've enjoyed growing up? Like, I mean, I loved like Wolfman, and my dad, he got me to watch Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and I love
that's a great movie. That's a great film. Yeah, all the Abbott and Costello, but Abbott and Costello I used to love all the time. But yeah, they're Frankenstein, you know, and the Wolfman. They do a couple different ones, but as I know, there's more sequences with the monsters in those movies than there are in most of the actual films. But I don't know. I like to watch Young Frankenstein. That's my. I like to watch that.
Were you also like a Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Sure. That's one of the first that I watched. Creature. Love, absolutely fan of course, the thing that I loved about that was all the underwater stuff, you know, Riku and Riku Browning and all the stuff they did that just captured the imagination. And of course we were kind of talking about that when we did Friday the 13th. That was you know, Tom Savini actually had the busts of you know, Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi, and everybody there, you know, Boris Karloff, all the busts there. And he big inspiration from classic horror. But you know, I think the thing about Friday the 13th is that there was a sense that something new was going on, and that they didn't, you know, they were feeling their way through. And in my opinion, you know, having Betsy Palmer there is what really made that. It gave that the real drive that it needed. You know, it's Betsy who she played my mother in Friday the 13th, and she also shared the same birth date as my actual mother, November 1st.
Oh, okay.
So, and we were just close, and she was a super awesome actress and a super awesome person. But how do we look at Friday the 13th? Can it compare on all those levels? Like, yeah, The Mummy was a movie that I liked when I was a very, very little kid. I watched The Mummy, and you look at the grand scale of something like that, where they're actually going to like the Cairo Museum, and this guy is convincing this girl that in order to marry him, she has to die. And, you know, see, Friday the 13th is just, there's no It's like you had in the 70s, you had Rosemary's Baby, you had The Exorcist, you had Damien and The Omen, and all these very otherworldly and movies. And then all of a sudden you had Jaws. And Jaws reminded us, boom, we love a monster, simple. And it took a safe place, which was the beach, where everybody's supposed to be just having a good old time, and it made it into a scary place. And I think that Friday the 13th took a lot from that, if you will.
How much influence did you get from the original Universal monsters?
Well, it's Tom. I love that stuff. The stuff that I was doing with my body language, I guess you could say in some ways drew upon that, but it's really Tom. Tom definitely, I think what he wanted to do was to have a shock element. He said, they're only going to be able to see this for a very brief moment. So we have to really make it count, it's just boom, and there are examples of that throughout Hammer Horror and throughout Universal Film, and all of it. Personally, I like to watch those movies. I think personally, just as a person, I love watching those movies. I love Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing is one of my favorite actors. I just love those actors. Sometimes I get the opportunity to be in these independent horror films. As you know, I spend most of my time doing the band, and I'm very happy with that because we can combine screening of Friday the 13th and an autograph meet and greet and the band, and it all goes great, and food and drinks, and everybody's having a good time. But sometimes I get to also be in these great independent horror films. Most notably, I played Dr. Rock in The Barn and the upcoming The Barn 2. Also, I played Sycan the Clown in Clown Motel and in Clown Motel 2. So,
was there a project? Was there a project I read somewhere with Bret the Hitman Hart that you were working on at some point?
Oh my gosh, what's the name of that one? That's up in Canada, and I shot that. I play a bartender in that. Okay. I like playing a bartender. I've played a bartender in that. I played a bartender in what was the name of that one? Anyway, I'll send you a list. But if you go to my IMDb, it's all there, and there's some amazing independent films that I've gotten to be a part of. And when I'm doing that, I try to draw upon the best sources that I can. So that's a great question. I'm certainly influenced by them, maybe more just in real life.
I also have to imagine at the age that you were, there was a magazine that came out. It was in May 1980. You were on the Famous Monsters magazine in issue 163.
Wow, that was cool. That was cool.
To be able to see that, you're sitting there thinking like, okay, I'm like, now it's so iconic. You're the young Jason Voorhees that comes out from the water, that starts a huge, series of movies. You're well loved with your fans. And it has, obviously, you created your music because of Friday the 13th, but you started music a long time ago. And I know that you...
Well, I played jazz, and then I also was a part of the world music and reggae music scene. So I got to work for Interscope Records. I got to work for Tough Gong Records, which was actually the record label started by Bob Marley. I got to tour in Europe and all throughout the United States and Canada. I got to tour even in Africa. I got to perform in a reggae tour with Steel Pulse and all these other bands. So I did all of that. But then when I realized, okay, I needed to kind of make a connection between my character, because you can't kind of encode people's expectations. You know, when people say, I'm going to go see this singer who also played Jason Voorhees, you know?
Yeah.
You're not going to really expect a reggae musician. Although now I can get away with anything. But so at first, I started to look to other people for inspiration and help. I got a lot of help from different bands. I had been good friends with a band called Reagan Youth, and Dave Insurgent from Reagan Youth had turned me on to Bad Brains and turned me on to Dead Kennedys. And then when I got here to Chicago, I met Nefarious, the bass player. There you go. There's Bad Brains, man. And I actually got, and there's Dead Kennedys. I got to be, I was in New York when that was happening. So I was at NYU, and I would go over there with Dave Insurgent. He would bring me over to CBGB's, and I got to play at CBGB's too. But, you know, like I said, at that time, I was looking into jazz and funk, and I was looking into, you know, reggae, and but so when I decided, wow, I better dig on some metal. So it was really, and this was the craziest thing, it was on Craigslist. I put out a Craigslist saying, okay, I'm going to do this band, and this is who I am. And somebody reached out to me. He said, I'm in a local band called Macabre, and we're on hiatus because the singer wants to take a break for a short time. So I benefited greatly from the presence of one of the greatest bass players in death metal, okay? And he is on my first 2 albums. His name is Chuck Leshkovitz, but also known as Nefarious of Macabre. And I'll tell you, Macabre just came out with a new album, kids. And if you like death metal, it's called Carnival of Death or Carnival of Murder. It's either Carnival of Death. I think it's called Carnival of Death.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Macabre is awesome. All their albums are awesome. Their new album is awesome. Check them out. They've always been supportive of me and my work, even though I haven't actually seen them for some time, because we've been out touring, and a lot of the bands that we get to work with are, you know, are outside of Chicago mainly. So, you know, but I was, so as we put out our first album, Jason Is Watching, and then we put our second album, Heed My Warning. And then we did one called To Be a Monster. And then this is Lord of the Lake. Lord of the Lake, that's the cover for Lord of the Lake, which was kind of a definitive album for us. We came out with the songs Kill for Mother and VOORHEES is the name, both of which we had videos from that got a lot of response. So now, after much time and much, you know, the open-eared and open-heartedness of the metal and punk community, which I never take for granted, what we do is we try to go throughout different regions and just tour as much as possible. That's the Jason Is Watching cover. All the covers, by the way, the artwork is done by Scott Jackson. And if you go to Monster Man Graphics, you can get posters of those artworks, T-shirts of those artworks, all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, it's a great job. I love it.
And all the music is currently available on Spotify and on all those iTunes and Apple Music and all of the digital platforms. As much as I want to do vinyl and everything, I'm a big believer on getting your music out there digitally, because it reaches the largest number of people, and I'm able to, thank goodness, go out and do meet and greets and help to support the band in that way. So we're not totally based on sales of albums and CDs, okay? We're based on you getting out there to meet you. So what I want to do is to be able to release music that people can enjoy. So let me tell you, I'm really happy with thank you with the Scapegoat and with that new song and the fact that Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills came in and gave us enhanced that production, and Sean Browning from Grave Robber too. So
okay, with the music, you know, like I know that.
By the way, we recorded that at Uptown Recording in Chicago with the great Rob Ruccia, who does all the recordings for Nonpoint. What were you going to say, my friend? I'm sorry.
No, well, I was just going to say, I know that I wanted to go back into some of your earlier roots, you know, with, you know, like Miles Davis, you know,
Miles Davis, that's amazing.
like
Yeah,
I said,
yes.
it's two different sounds, you know, but explain a little bit about your first love with
Sure.
music.
Well, when I got to New York City, and well, it's even started before that. I lived in Connecticut, same in Westport, Connecticut. There was an amazing piano teacher, and her name was Gay Mahegan. Now, she's passed away, but she was married to John Mahegan, who now she in her own right was a super amazing piano player. She had worked with Mahavishnu Orchestra, John McLaughlin. John Mahegan was the piano teacher who wrote the jazz theory program for Juilliard. So he taught people like Herbie Hancock and others, and Ahmad Jamal, and he went to South Africa. So that was an enormous resource for me as a young man. And they turned me on to jazz. They turned me on to how to play jazz, specifically Gay Mahegan. I didn't work with John. She was my teacher, and she was an amazing teacher. She had an approach to piano which was just amazing. So she also introduced me to bands like Led Zeppelin and all kinds of things. She really nurtured my musical sense. Now, at that time, there was kind of a jazz thing going on. Okay. So when I got to New York, it was like jazz, like just what you put up there. Miles Davis, Charlie Parker. I became a John Coltrane freak. Like I had 36 John Coltrane albums. For 1 year at college, I would not listen to anything but John Coltrane.
Okay.
I swear. People would just come in there, are you playing John Coltrane again? That's all but you know, that's how it's good to be like that at school sometimes. I really, really absorb something so you really get it, you know. Yeah. And then I wanted to do that with all kinds of music. I wanted to learn world music, Latin music, all kinds of music. So I got to do that. But then what happened was, of course, here I am, this guy with long hair, and then this music came out, right? You know, kind of easy jazz. This is when it just came out. WBEZ or something. I don't know if that was it. Just easy jazz, whatever it was, you know. And it was like, wait a minute, you know. And people said, wait, okay, you're playing jazz, you have long hair, you're Kenny G. And I said, what? And I said, wait a minute, I don't dig that. I'm into like this modern jazz, this hard bebop, this cool Charlie Mingus and all this. No. Kenny G. So like I couldn't get out of it. It was like if I was gonna play jazz, I was gonna be Kenny G. I even started working with hip hop. I got to work with Africa Bambaataa. Because I was like, screw this, you know. I went uptown. I was like, I'm gonna just, and they went, hey, you're like Kenny G. I was like, I couldn't take it. So
but you got a chance to go places, and I know one of the places you went to that I would love to go to is the Netherlands, and I believe you had some experiences out there with the Netherlands. I think you know, just like I said, just having that ability to go, whether it's reggae, world. I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Well, reggae is what opened the doors for me in terms of because at that time, a lot of musicians, whether it was bands from Jamaica or bands from Africa or bands from the Caribbean, they would bring over their lead artist and maybe some of their singers. They couldn't bring over their full band. So they needed somebody in New York City who could follow their music and then set up a band. Maybe I would find, hey, I would find, oh, that's me in Holland. That's right. I would find musicians, you know, I would find musicians and put it together so that then we would go and we would tour all over, whether we would tour in America or like playing at Red Rocks Amphitheater or touring around Europe. And yeah, I really did enjoy doing that for a while. But then, see, what happened is that the way the change came and my interest in horror and metal was because somebody, when I got to Chicago, okay, and okay, I received an email from someone who said, "Did you autograph this photo?" And I said, "What do you mean autograph this photo?" And he's like, "Aren't you Ari Lehman, the guy who played Jason Voorhees?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh yeah, because somebody just charged me $50 for this on eBay."
Oh wow.
And I said, "No, I haven't signed any photos." So yeah, it turned out someone was forging my autograph and selling them. And I actually tracked him down, and that person gave money back, et cetera, et cetera. So, but then I realized, wow, there's this whole scene of people. And then I was invited to the first Fangoria / Chiller Theater event at the Meadowlands. And I met Betsy Palmer and Kate Potter, and Tom Savini was there, and there was thousands of people there. And that's when it kind of dawned on me, you know, maybe I should do something a little different. And you know, that's the idea for First Jason was born there. But, you know, in all honesty, it took time. It took time for me to find my voice there. And I'm absolutely, again, never take for granted the open, like, just look at that right there. That guitar wasn't around when I started doing this. I duct tape a synthesizer to a giant cosplay sword, like a machete and then finally, so people made me this huge machete that I would, you know, just attach a synthesizer to make my own, you know. So you look at how far we've come now that Roland made a guitar just for me with black keys and everything. Not just for me.
Now, for those that might not know, what is considered a guitar? I mean, if somebody was like, you know, just not really apt on the music,
it's just a keyboard that you play like a guitar with a guitar strap.
Okay.
But I will say that they've gotten better and better as time went on. There you go. That's a picture of one of my original ones. You can see it's just duct taped to that machete, which has a LED Jason mask there. And that was an amazing show in where was that? Somewhere in Indiana. Where was that? Oh my gosh, that was a cool show.
Well, you've been so many places, you know, obviously. So I wanted to ask you, in regards to music, I'm
glad that we got to tour around. Yes.
Well, in your opinion, is it important? Why is it important for a musician to learn and understand and study old music?
Well, gosh. Well, it's certainly benefited myself in the sense that, okay, my approach to songwriting, okay, it's not the same as many, and people will find in my songs, even though they're straight up rock songs, and okay, they're straight up rock songs, and but I draw upon everything from jazz to reggae to blues, and you can hear that in the music. I also think, though, Eric, that when you're a keyboardist, keyboardists will benefit from studying jazz. There's no doubt about it. Not that guitar players won't, but jazz really comes from kind of a keyboard sensibility. Duke Ellington, you know, these great keyboard players, McCoy Tyner, looking at things. The other thing is, it's really basic. Jazz teaches us how to improvise, you know?
Yeah.
And when you know how to improvise, then you could write songs all day long. So you could learn the way a genre sounds and absorb that into your sound. But now that you know how to improvise with expression, with creativity, and, you know, in a way that just keeps people's attention. So you'll see I benefit now. Jason has this great guitar player. Okay, I play guitar and I love to play guitar, but without Eddie Machete, our guitar player, because, you know, I'll lay out the stuff and I can solo, and I just got a new wah-wah pedal, but you know, Eddie Machete studies with Joe Satriani, and Eddie Machete is just a great guitar player who's been working with me for, I think, almost 10 years. So Ed, yeah, Eddie's an amazing musician, and you know, he you know, sometimes you got to have a guitar. Like, we were doing the recording over at Uptown, and Rashid from Nonpoint was there, and I was like, well, you know, I could do this using my guitar, but he said, no, man, for that part, to have the real sound of the bass. And he was right. There's no, you know, the guitar is great, and it enables me to perform and to get on stage and to have fun and feel rock, you know, but I'm still bringing the jazz. And so I need everybody to make it happen. And, you know, there's nothing real game and everything.
Well, what emotions do you think your music elicits in listeners?
I think it's a shake up, kind of shake them up, kind of get people excited. You know, it's like, if our end of the horror in it is, and people have said, oh yeah, he has some scary music, you know, like especially Words from the first album, but also recent stuff too. But I think the idea is to shake people up so that they look at what's going on today. They look at things inside them. They look at their relationship to the music. And, you know, and of course we really want everybody to have fun. And sometimes, you know, there's many different ways to have fun at a rock show. I think one of the ways is when the words kind of hit you in a certain place and you feel that. And, you know, we love it when people sing the lyrics back. And I think that right now you're seeing a whole new kind of movement happening in horror rock. Ice Nine Kills being one example of leaders on that scene. The fact that they recognized us and me and got me to do a collaboration with them, and now they've collaborated on one of our songs, is significant to me. And I think that, you know,
well, I'm definitely glad, you know, because collaborations are awesome out there. And is there anybody that you would really, really love to collaborate with, or that you maybe have in the past that, you know, I mean, you've been so many places, you've been all over a lot of places. So I'm sure you have some great stories from your venues and things like that. You know, what's a collaboration? I mean, was there a concert that really like said something to you as well, that you growing up that you went to, you know, that you're like,
I got to see Miles Davis, as a young man. I got to see Santana. Santana is somebody that, wow, if I could ever get to work with Santana, that's somebody that I feel absolutely, in his own unique way, he took his approach. Like, his approach comes out of Latin music, and he didn't have to compromise his background in his expression as a rock performer. You look at his performance from Woodstock right on up till now. He also worked together with Mahavishnu Orchestra. So there's a spiritual side to him, but also political. And then he's had hits which are just straight up rock hits that people love to hear when they're in a club dancing. So,
yeah,
you know, here's a musician who's had an effect, but he's come from his from his heritage and from his background, and honestly approached, like, if you could see videos of Santana's band from back in the 70s, and they were just an amazing band. The other musician, of course, who I couldn't collaborate with anymore, but has had an influence on me, is Frank Zappa.
Oh, okay.
Frank Zappa, his approach again to rock, in the sense that he redefined what rock meant for him, like Santana, but never compromise. So all of his music is still rock, but profoundly a lot of jazz, a lot of classical music. I think that's the great thing about rock, Eric, is that it really reflects how we can draw upon the entire past of music. I mean, when I was at Wackenfest, okay, and Sepultura from Brazil came out with 40 samba drummers at the beginning. And that's how they kicked off Wackenfest in Germany,
Wow.
So I'm very much a believer in the malleability of rock, and how much rock music really is just beginning. I think that all of us are on a ride that's going to really, really, right now, you look at people who've inspired us, like Rudy Sarzo, the great bass player who stays in touch with everybody. Okay. Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, who stays in touch with everybody and is always willing to work together with people. And, people like that. CJ Ramone, there's people who are still out there who are still fighting the good fight for rock, because rock and roll is just going to keep growing, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's music, says so many things. It reaches out to people, all over the place. When you were going out on live shows and stuff, like, what's one of the craziest things that you've witnessed or was part of, or, I mean, obviously you're all over the place.
Well, we were at this amazing event last year. Okay. Well, I mean, we did a bunch of crazy events. We just played at the Wildcatter Saloon last Halloween down there near Houston. That was incredible. They created a whole haunted house, and a whole haunted maze for that. But the year prior to that, we played at this event called Dark and Heavy Camp Fest, which was a death metal festival held in Western Pennsylvania up on a mountaintop. Okay, man. And it was just up in a mountaintop, and there was nothing but death metal bands. And it just went for 3 days, and it was insane. It was crazy. It was amazing. And, they were working together with the people who ran that performance area, which is actually a commune. It's like kind of a hippie commune. So like I was like picking vegetables out of the garden and in the morning, and then rocking out, and they immediately have death metal at sunrise, and it just went. And there was a bunch of incredible bands there at Dark and Heavy Camp Fest. Yeah, that was fun. We got to play. They had Green Jello played the night before. They played on Friday night. They headlined Friday night, and they had First Jason headline Saturday night, and that was a lot of fun. You could there's films of that online. The reason why I cite that instance, because it was kind of showing how there was the beginning of this movement of horror rock, where it's a new thing, and it definitely still has a lot of the older, sure, that kind of Misfits vibe and the original kind of hellbilly horror rock kind of vibe, you know what I'm saying? That kind of vibe too. But now you've got other bands that are kind of taking their own approach, whether they come from metal, whether they come from doom, whether they come from electronica, whether they come from hip hop, because you've got that whole thing too. So so many different bands I guess because horror became mainstream, you know what I'm saying? So people are drawing more upon their horror inspiration. And I'm truly honored that I can serve sort of as an ambassador, because what I'm doing is I get to hear these amazing bands, and you know, that's just something that inspires me. So I don't take that for granted either.
Well, if you could kind of create your own festival, and present bands to play with you, like let's say you have three bands. Who would you like? I mean, who would you like to be on the stage and present three bands in your festival?
Three bands? Oh, but then I gotta leave people out. I gotta just say everybody.
Well, I mean,
I would have Doyle up there, and I have Demon Scar. We have to have Demon Scar up there from New York, and oh man, there's so many great bands. I'll leave somebody out. I don't want to do that.
So there's a lot of them to bring in. So, but I mean, like I said,
I love Non-Point. People should be listening to Non-Point. That's another band from Chicago. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, if I was to say, oh, absolutely, oh, it's impossible. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, so I want to see everybody. Bring in everybody. We've gotten to play with Full Metal Z out of Kansas City is a great band we get to work with. Transylvania is another great band we get to work with out of Springfield. There's just so many great bands, you know.
Well, we have a question from the chat. It's from Steve. It says, Ari, what's your opinion on bands like Alice Cooper, the Misfits, pushing horror and music together in the same limelight?
Oh, well, there you have two classic examples. Alice Cooper is probably the original when you think about it. I mean, you've got Screaming Jay Hawkins, but Alice really took the psychological side, and he took that side of going deeper into, you know, the workings of the mind, you know. Also his approach to rock being, you know, stadium rock, and you know, he definitely brought that in. Now you could say Ozzy Osbourne kind of kicked it up a notch after Alice, you know, in his own ways, or together at the same time. But the Misfits, of course, are coming from that punk New York thing, and they really, really encapsulated the feeling, you know, Danzig's songwriting and his vocal techniques and everything are, you know, really without parallel.
Somebody asked, have you ever met Rob Zombie?
You know, I would love to meet Rob Zombie. I haven't gotten the opportunity to meet Rob Zombie yet. I am a fan of his work, very much so. You know, I kind of communicated. I know that he's checked out some First Jason through some friends and stuff like that. And I got to see White Zombie way back in the day, I think it's CBGB's. So in that sense, I've seen him in live, but I've not got to meet him personally. I would like to, definitely. He's a amazing performer, and I like his movies too. I like his approach to movies, and I like his whole approach. And Kirk Hammett.
I'm sorry, you said the movies. So I just wanted to touch on, do you think he would have did a good job with Friday the 13th? Well,
yeah, I think he could. Honestly, I feel that it's kind of unfair to put so much pressure. He seems to be like an artist to me who's best in his own space. So to me, I really feel that Devil's Rejects to me is his top work. Also, House of a Thousand Corpses, quite excellent. But then he kind of, to me, really, like, Devil's Rejects just is an amazing film. and it stands the test of time, and it's got certain scenes that are absolutely compelling. And he was given his own space there, so you know. But there you go. So yeah, Rob Zombie is amazing, and but what we were saying about Horror Rock. Oh, what was I? Oh, I went on to something. I forgot what it was.
Well, you were talking about originally with Rob Zombie and then meeting him, and then we talked about with the movies and stuff. But like we were kind of in that Rob Zombie area, with having that, like he's checked out First Jason, and things like you haven't had an opportunity to meet with him yet.
Right.
But I mean, obviously,
we were talking about Horror Rock, and I was gonna mention another entity of Horror Rock, but it's slipping my mind. So,
well, maybe somebody in the chat might grab that. So if that comes up now, in your videos that you bring up, are really, really interesting. The parody. I know there was one where Jason's getting married, or he has a female love interest. What's the inspiration behind some of these videos that when you're thinking through?
Thank you. I think some of my early videos that I did were not really as good as the ones that were done by the guys who directed my recent videos. I came up with some ideas originally. Yes, we did the Jason's Bride video, and I also did one for Heed My Warning, where Jason is attacked by an army of zombies.
Yeah.
And, that was my idea. Like, yes, Jason will be attacked by an army of zombies. Now, of course,
I think that was pretty
we
cool.
had some trouble, but it wasn't it came out somewhat comical. So that's why I turned over the duties of creating videos to Kevin Epperson and his team. They created for me the Kill for Mother and the Jason is VOORHEES is the name video. VOORHEES is the name, and Kill for Mother video, which both are on YouTube, and they've gotten a lot of love and have helped us enormously because those guys work in television and they know what they're doing, and it's always best to trust people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I like some of the ideas I came up with. Again, it's like my own approach, and I'm taking my own approach to Horror Rock. I think my approach is to have fun and to not underestimate the intelligence of your audience, and just have a good time with it. And so far, it's gone well.
Have you ever ventriloquism? Have you enjoyed that? Have you seen people with ventriloquism? Have you ever had the experience of meeting anybody that does that?
Well, I have a lot of magician friends. I don't know any ventriloquists. Are you a ventriloquist, Eric?
Well, I actually have somebody here that I would like to bring to you.
Hello. Well, ask and you shall receive. It's a pleasure to meet you, and an amazing honor.
Hi.
Lehman, how are you?
What's your name?
My name is Charlie, and I'm a
Charlie.
big fan. A big fan of horror, and a big fan of, obviously, your movie was a big influence. And just seeing you, it's just like I'm almost I'm still definitely starstruck here.
Oh, well, that's awesome, Charlie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's unique. I'm happy to meet you. Very happy to meet you.
Meet you too.
Yeah.
No, Charlie,
a bunch of Funko Pops back there. I see you've got a ton of Funko Pops, right?
Yep.
I have one here. I have one. It looks like me. See that one?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they did a good job on it. We're supposed to have some more coming in, so people should message me if they want to get these. There you go.
So people were asking in the chat, definitely. So a lot of people were asking in the chat.
Yeah, just private message me on Facebook and all of that good stuff. Instagram.
Now Charlie, he also his owner, Robert, that basically German expressionism. He comes back. He teaches he's like a principal. So I mean, he has a
Oh,
background,
okay.
big on film and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I love the first movie that I really love there is Der Golem. Der Golem with Emil Jannings. Hey there, Emil
How are
Jannings,
you?
who actually wrote and directed and starred in Der Golem as Der Golem. So that's one. That's one. And then, as you were showing me, Nosferatu, F.W. Murnau is amazing. I love all of his films.
But
Yeah.
it's shadows, like how everything comes in there. I mean, definitely how they work with those shadows, and I know that that's one of your movies.
This is Charles Lawton directed Night of the Hunter. That's a great one. Yeah.
I loved how the old lady was sitting in the chair and she had the shotgun. And
Yeah.
waiting, with the shotgun, and he's outside the window and singing, and then she starts singing, and it's just like I mean, I love that scene.
I'm trying to remember the name of that actress. Is it Mary Pickford? It's one of the.
Or was it Shelley Winters?
What?
Was it Shelley Winters?
No. She's in
Which film is
the.
this?
Shelley Winters is the woman in the car who gets yeah. But the old woman, that's Shelley Winters. Well, no, it's a dummy of Shelley Winters, of course. But Shelley Winters, no, what's her name? Anyway, she's one of the original classic old actresses of that time period, and yeah, that's incredible. There's a lot of cool references in that film. You've got, of course, the wonderful Knuckles, where it's written on his knuckles. It's written love and hate. As you can see right there, that's where the idea came from for Taxi Driver and everybody else who ever did that. That comes from Night of the Hunter.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're big on German expressionism, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I was always big on that as well. The big influence is obviously Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah, I just watched that recently on my kind of bigger screen. Yeah, yeah, I love Caligari. Caligari's a great one. That's a great one. There's a lot of mysterious elements there. I just love the way the sets are built and that whole thing is incredible. But Der Golem is one. If you like Caligari, you should watch Der Golem because Der Golem has those weird sets as well. Very, very strange and
yeah, I love that style. It's so different, which influenced obviously Tim Burton and his films. And
oh yeah, sure. Tim Burton movies are great, fantastic. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's true. You can see a lot of that style is adopted into Tim's work. Yeah, definitely. I mean that's where it's at. I think the thing that kind of defines artists who are able to, let's say, facilitate getting what they're trying to express out there is by drawing on previous artists who have done the same. It's like anything. You gotta, if you're going to go out on a battlefield, it's good to talk to the soldiers who came back from that battlefield, and survived. The whole idea being that all of these artists that were out there who contributed so much, and then we can draw upon them.
Well, Ari, they say that some people say that horror genre is dying. But obviously with recent surges of Halloween, you have a Scream movie coming back, bringing in new fans, new directors, and hopefully new stories. What's your thought on the genre direction these days? And I know you've been in a lot of different types of movies outside of obviously doing your music. So what do you feel that the direction is going in today?
I think it's these TV shows. I think that when we've got American Horror Story, we've got Stranger Things, we've got stuff like that. and then you see Black Mirror or things like that. You've got so many different. What did they just do? Oh, what was this one? Jordan Peele just did another one.
Us.
Yeah, but no, he did a TV series, which
I know he's hosting the Twilight Zone again. The new.
Yeah, he did that too. But he did another TV series that's up there that's really fantastic. That's very horrific and draws upon all kinds of elements. No, I think that honestly, more than ever, right now, there's different avenues for horror. Okay. Maybe it's not doing the full feature film thing, but I think that when you look at a lot of the different series that are out there that people really watch a lot of, a lot of them have a horror themology.
Well,
even Westworld and those kind of shows too.
Yeah, I mean, I need to watch a little bit more of American Horror Story. I'm interested in that. I mean, I grew up, with Night of the Living Dead, Tales of the Crypt, the Trilogy of Terror, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, things like that. But I love Friday the 13th, and I know that they're in a court battle with that, and soon things will get in the direction. Is there a storyline for you for Friday the 13th that you would love? Like, I would love to see a snow setting, like them be like maybe a group of kids break down and they have to go to Camp Crystal Lake and there's a snow setting. Is there anything that you would have liked to see different from?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that we've got to take Jason into the future now. You know, and they kind of tried to. I mean, they did that with Jason X, which was cool, but we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go beyond that. We're gonna have to go beyond that. Like let's say Jason. Let's say the Army created a robot that could defeat anyone who was armed. Anyone who had, if you had bullets on you, it would blow the bullets on you. If you had hand grenades on you, it would blow you up with your own hand grenades. If you're in a vehicle which has a gas engine, it will blow you up. So all of a sudden they can't attack it, except one soldier can do that because Jason doesn't use weapons, right? Jason doesn't drive vehicles, right? So they have to create an army. Yeah, it's like this angel of death robot, okay? So they have to create an army of Jasons.
Weaponizing them.
To maybe something like that. I don't know.
I think that'd be cool.
Have a futuristic thing. Maybe an army of robots versus an army of Jasons. I don't know, something like that. It'll be Jason versus robot Jason.
The infamous, of course, the iconic scene that at the end there with the big reveal. Do you feel that horror movies today lack that expression, less is more? Kind of like what Spielberg did with his editor on like the anticipation and the building suspense by showing less, and then obviously by the end of the film paying off with the big jump scare or the big reveal.
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Jump scare on the first Friday the 13th kind of brings you to a whole other realm. It's almost like it comes out of a different film. The thing is once you've done the jump scare once, then it's that card played, and you can't play it again, if you will. So it has that's one thing right there. So but I think that many times people have used that device after Friday the 13th. So I wouldn't say that current horror films are lacking. It's just they've got to draw on other themes. They've got to look into other ways of scaring us. Probably probably using something internet scares and stuff like that.
People watch scary movies. People watch them to be scared, but some people avoid them. Do you believe that horror movies can actually help people face their fears? Like, is there a movie out there that kind of maybe helped you a little bit? Do you have any fears or superstitions?
Well, yeah, I do think that that's one of the healthier sides of horror, if you will. One time I was talking to Bill Moseley after we had had after after we had had an attack in a public place, and Bill and I were appearing at a big public place, and this was the day after there was an attack not too far away. And I remember, you know, I walked up to him and I expressed my concern. I said, wow, you know, these people are still coming out and they're bringing their kids, and you really got to, that's why you really got to be there for them. And, you know, this speaks to the time period that we're going through now, you know. But he said to me, no, Ari, that's the thing, is that here in this family of horror, you're not going to see anything like that happen, because if you will, we have this virtual outlet, which enables us to go through certain conflicts, certain inner conflicts in the form of theatrics, in the form of drama, in the form of cinema. It's just like metalheads say, man, you know, I don't, you know, I'm able to get out all of this energy by just going to a metal show or playing metal, of course. So I think that horror and metal share that for sure. And so what Bill said was very true. He said, he went on to say some other things, which I'm not going to say, but, you know, in other words, he said, in this arena, you're not going to find that. And thank goodness he was right. You know? And I think that today, when you look at this as well, what we're confronted with right now, again, we have to be able to overcome our fears, if you will, and people, like I was out in Pennsylvania and we've done shows. I had a longshoreman came up to me and he said, you know, I had to start work at 4:30 yesterday and went through to 10:30. There's people who they don't have the choice of not working. They can't say, oh, yeah, I'll stay home because of this quarantine. They don't have the choice. So I think that entertainers, too, we have to remember. And he said, you know, I'm here today because I'm bored as F. You know, he's like, he's just bored. And he wanted something to do. He said, this is cool. This is something to do. He's a big Friday the 13th fan, you know. So I think we got to remember that a lot of what we do is for the people, for individuals, and for people who many times they don't have the choice. They don't have the choice of being able to stay home or you know, that luxury. And it's wonderful for artists who have such a repertoire and such a revenue. And I'm not in any way, that's wonderful. But first, Jason and myself, we got to keep moving. We're like a shark. You know, we draw 250, 300 people, so we can still get out there and perform in smaller venues. And it's important to me to be able to do what I can. You know, sometimes we got to take our minds off these things, because if there's so much stress, that's not good for you. You know, people need to get that stress out. They need they need to de-stress. You know, nothing will de-stress you more than Jason chasing you through the woods with various farm implements.
Well, I know one of the opportunities that you've taken is your hot sauces, right? Now, for some people who might not know, what you got these Ari's hot sauces.
Thank you.
Which are really, really cool.
Yeah, all natural. We started with slasher sauce, and then there's Blood of the Lake, and the one in the front, it says 40 sauce. That came out last year. It's getting a new label this year, but that's our super hot sauce, 40 sauce. But so yeah, they're all natural sauces. That started when a buddy of mine who runs a company called Gemini Crow out there in New Jersey, he works with a farm that actually bottles the sauce, makes the sauce and bottles the sauce. They grow the sauce and they grow the peppers in Florida. So, we worked together with them. I tried like all these different recipes before I started Slasher sauce, which is a ghost pepper sauce, which is absolutely delicious. It's a Caribbean style. And then we came out with Blood of the Lake, which is a Louisiana style. And now we have the new one called Heat My Warning, which is this super hot and super delicious. It's made with the oil of cayenne. So that's because, this year everybody's talking about that show, The Hot Ones, and really they needed a real scorcher. But that sauce is made with peaches and pineapples and brown sugar, so it's got a sweet component. So even though it's super hot, it's super sweet, just like little Jason,
How can we get our hands on that if we wanted to purchase that? Is it on the website?
Oh, again, everybody can just private message me in order to order anything from me, because I found that if I just put a link up, then things get crazy. This way I interact with each person and they get to say hi to me. And some products actually come with a video message. So we've got all kinds of cool stuff. But the hot sauces, I love selling the music and hot sauces because I think that it's something that people really enjoy. I do love, I'll sell autographed photos and masks and all that stuff too. But the hot sauce is something that people really enjoy. And we get repeat orders for it all the time. And so
now,
that's a fun
Eric,
thing.
we should order some and then eat them live while trying to
especially that Heat My Warning. Well, that's the point. Yeah, that's a good point because that's the horror element. It's got a little pain. It's good. It's good for you. Plus, it kills all germs. So if you eat hot sauce, you're healthy forever.
And you're in the Funko business because, like I said, I do have my autograph Ari, Funko
Let me
Pop.
see that one. That one has a. Let me see that one.
Let me go ahead and real quick.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No, that's me. That's one that I wrote. I actually drew a little thing on. I think I know who that's for. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yes, but see now, and after this, because my wife said she has to use the computer.
we totally appreciate it.
Let's talk about this guy, because what we do have here is a custom, and they're made custom with the boxes that are amazing boxes. Okay.
Nice.
And the lady who makes them told me she's gonna make them. Now you see, she's got the Funko has a keytar. Okay, he's got a keytar, but she's making them so that they have a little Camp Crystal Lake sign. Okay, they're gonna have a new one. This is one for me. They're gonna have a new one with a little Camp Crystal Lake sign there. Okay,
That's awesome.
so that's coming up soon. All right. So we want everybody, again, just keep in touch with me. I'll have those probably by like next week. And I think Funkos are cool. I'll tell you one thing. Eddie Machete, the guitar player of First Jason, is a huge Funko fan. He loves Funko Pop, man. He's got a ton of them. He must have, maybe 400. I don't know, something like that. A lot. Like they're all
Funko Pop.
every one. He's got all the Elvira Funko Pops.
The Elvira.
On a couch.
Well, they also make. They also have Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Werewolf Pops, Funko Pops. Oh, the old Universal ones.
You gotta have Universal.
Yeah.
Mr. Lehman, if you were given the opportunity to play Jason again, would you?
Oh, Charlie, that's really nice of you to ask, man. I would do anything but I'm too short, man. I'm too short, Charlie. I'm just a little.
I know that feeling.
Jason's big now, He's grown. You can relate. We can relate. We can relate. But you know what?
Is there a role? Is there a role that you would like to maybe play at some point, or something that you thought about wanting to pursue? I know music is your number one passion, but is there a role that if somebody put it on your desk, you're like, oh, this is all me?
Yeah, I'd like to play Svengali.
Oh,
Svengali, which was played by John Barrymore way back in the day. or I mean, there's so many roles. Just I like to play those wild and crazy wild roles because you know that's what it's all about. Because I got to keep my mustache, you know.
Love it. Absolutely love the
But
mustache.
you know what? Everybody should. You know, I'm gonna sign off. But you know what? Everybody should do is keep an eye out for The Barn 2, where I play Dr. Rock, and that's a really cool character that I get to play in The Barn 2. Okay.
And Ari, Kelly Zufelt says hi. She says if you can say hi to Kelly, she's a huge fan.
Hi,
So,
Kelly. How you doing? Look, here's my friend.
uh-huh.
Oh, look who came to say hi. Now that we're signing off, I think she needs a walk. It's my, there she is. How you doing?
What?
No. So
Yeah,
says
I appreciate it 100%. So heading out, I quote Miles Davis. I'm always thinking about creating my future. When I wake up in the morning every day, I find something creative to do with my life. Ari, you continue to be creative. You have continued to come into our lives and be amazing. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time. It means a lot to the people that have showed up in the chat, myself, people that will be watching on the rewind. So, you know, we wish you the best. I hope that you do get a chance to go play bingo. And, you know,
well, thank you so much. You all mean a lot to me, and that was very, very well put and very thoughtful. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. And Charlie and everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can say to the Funko community.
Yes.
You know, anything
Get
you want
ready,
to say
Funko. We're gonna have some cool stuff coming for Funkos, because Funkos are fun. The future is Funko. Check it out. Mazel likes it too. Signing out. Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate it.
Never dies.
Once again, guys, let's Ari Lehman heading out, and I have his did you like that earlier, Ari, when I did that for you? The
amazing.
Ari, you gotta love it. You have stayed. Now remember, Chucky, he's gotten older, Ari. Take a look.
Now he looks like Andy.
So you are wonderful. Appreciate it. Thank you once again so much for everything. Like I said,
okay. Thank you.
All right, Ari.
Thank you, Eric. And that was a great Miles Davis quote. Jason never dies. Take care.
That's right.